Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to try and repair my son's Philips Sonicare toothbrush. So this was bought brand new, probably a little over a year ago now, and last night he said that he couldn't turn it off. He had to press it loads of times before it would go off, and then this morning when he went to use it he said it was making a funny noise, and my wife said it's no problem, it just needs charging. She plugged it in and then she was like, Vince, it's not charging. So I thought, okay, it's probably because it's completely depleted, leave it in for a while. This has now been in for 5 hours and it's still not charging. There's no lights coming on whatsoever. So what it should look like is this one here, which does work. This is my daughter's. If you look at that, can you see it starts charging as soon as you put it on there? And as far as the operation is concerned, all you have to do is turn it on and turn it off. If you want to change the mode setting from strong to weak, you hit that button when it's off and then it will become weaker. Yeah. But now watch this one here. This one will turn on, but then you can't turn it off. Yeah, and it's on the weak mode. And also every now and then it will make that funny noise because the battery's nearly gone. But if you have a listen, it's clicking. Doesn't matter how hard I press that, it is not going off. So I've worked out how to get it off. There you go, just made that beeping noise because the battery's flat. I have to hold down the mode button and then this button, then it will turn off. So watch this, holding it down like that. So that's not a problem because I can live with that. As long as it can turn off, that's fine. But the main problem is it will not charge. So the reason the lights are flashing now is purely because it's just been on. But they will go out again in about a minute and then it doesn't matter. In fact, what I'll do now is I'll just fast forward through the video with that there just to show you that the lights will go out. There you go, you can see now the lights have gone out. Now I've watched a Let's Fix It garage video on this and yeah, he's basically repairing a kind of more expensive adults version. This is just a kid's version, so I don't really know how to get into it, but on the adults version what he did is he put protection around here and then he was squeezing around the edges here until this came out, and then you can basically take this out and then get to the insides by removing that, and there's a couple of clips in there. I'm hoping it's going to be the same. Now I will stress this has not been cleaned and this is real life, so basically when I take it apart you will see gunk and stuff like that. It does need to be cleaned, but I'm not going to clean it for the purpose of the video because I want this to be real. So the model number of this one is HX6320. So let's get a tea towel around the bottom and let's see if there's any way I can get this out. I'm going to get some pry tools as well. Right, first of all let's take off this front plate just in case there is some kind of screws or something behind it. Oh, it's stuck on. Right, okay. Yeah, it's, do you know what, I thought it was clipped on, but it's not, it's stuck. Right, I'm going to leave that in place because otherwise I'm almost certain there's not screws behind that. But I don't really know, do I? Yeah, I can hear. Do you know what, I am going to take it off just in case because I don't want to break the bottom of it if it turns out there's hidden screws in here. I can always put new double-sided sticky tape on that anyway. Oh, that's annoying, there's not. Oh well, never mind. Right, let's wrap this around the bottom. Tool's all seized up because it hasn't been used in so many years. Oh yeah, look at that. It does open up there, doesn't it? Let's zoom in a little bit more. Right, let's give that a squeeze. And then, oh, I can see the little rubber seal. Obviously this is to make it waterproof. I'm just going to rotate it a bit. And now this side's opened up here. Whoa! Nice. It was like popping a champagne bottle. Okay, if I do get it working, I'm looking forward to giving everything a nice good clean because, you know, just where it's been sat down on a wet sink all the time, you just get dirt and mould everywhere. Right, that came off a lot easier than expected. Now there is, oh look, there's all, yeah, look, there's all water condensation inside. I don't know if that's normal or not. Can you see on the walls here? Look, that's all wet. Right, that's not good. Right, so what we're going to have to do now is there's two little clips. Can you see here? This side and that side in there. So what I think I'm going to do is, in fact, is that going to come? That's already come out. Look, all I did was squeeze it like that and it's come out. So let's take the top off. Excellent. Well, I wasn't expecting that to come out so easy. Right, as far as water damage is concerned, yes, there's lots of water down at the very bottom. I was going to say there isn't any on the actual thing, but there is. And I can also see up here as well. Right, so it looks like I'm dealing with water damage, which is a shame. So obviously some seal has failed somewhere. I'm thinking it's probably going to be this top one here. But we can worry about that afterwards. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some kitchen roll and then I will properly be able to see how much water's on this. Right, so you can see water down there. Definitely around the coil at the bottom. And I presume that's the coil for the magnetic charging, because with this here, there isn't actually any contacts. It's quite clever. It's done via induction. So obviously that coil in there is inducting with some other coil in here. I'm not really sure how it works, if I'm honest with you. But there's definitely no physical connection. Because with this, you can see it just starts charging when I get near. Ready? Watch this now. Hold on. Do I have to be all the way in? There you go. Look. See, I'm not in. Can you see? And it's charging now. There you go. Now it goes there. So it's just when it gets near. It's clever, isn't it? Well, for me, it's clever. If you know about it, it's probably quite basic. Right, so I can see a little bit of rust on the bottom of the battery. Yeah, tiny little bit of rust there. What battery is this now? Not too sure if that's the name of it or not. Might be some markings on the other side. Right, I'm going to have to dismantle this, aren't I? Because yeah, there's rust here as well. You can see rust there. I'm going to have to take it all apart and give it a real good clean. So this has been leaking for quite some time, and I'm thinking it must be from the top here. In fact, I should be able to take that off. Can you take these off? I'm not sure if that plastic is in one piece with the rubber underneath it or whether it's two pieces. But you know what? We don't really have to get involved with that, do we? Because the water damage actually seems to be from the bottom half, which is strange how it's been getting in from the bottom. Unless, of course, it's been travelling down the top, and then when it's sat there, gravity's just worked. Also, I can see nice corrosion on that chip there. So that's going to need a reflow. Well, let's get this board off completely, because obviously I can't be soldering onto this, heating it up and stuff with the battery below it. So now, how do I get this battery out? It looks like it's soldered on. There's pins sticking through here. I wonder what the two pins at the bottom are for. Oh, that's for the coil here, I think. Right, so the battery looks like this one here and this one here, because these two look like they're the opposite side of this coil. Oh, okay, look, I've turned it on now. So let's see, will it turn off? Yes, look, it's turning on and off now. Hold on. No, it's not turning on. Do you know what? Maybe I might be able to just use IPA on the top, and that might do it. Let's see if it's going to charge. See if the lights are going to light up. No, so that little LED is still not lighting up. This moment in time it's not turning on either. Okay, yeah, let's get the soldering iron out and let's get this battery off, and then hopefully we might be able to get the circuit board off. Looks like I'm going to have to unsolder these this kind of magnetic coil as well. So obviously what happens is you've got the battery giving it power, it must energize this coil, and then something inside this allows it to vibrate. Something up here, I presume. But this all looks kind of sealed up here. Do you know what it looks like? It looks like a Doctor Who sonic screwdriver, doesn't it? Looks very good. Right, let's get the soldering iron. Right, so I'm going to be using the soldering iron and a solder sucker as well. So basically when the solder melts, you press this button here and it sucks the solder up into it, and then you can just empty it out. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put some leaded solder on it first to make it easier to melt, because this would all be lead-free solder, which has got a higher melting temperature. And this top one here. Now I'm going to have to undo, what else? See, I want to get this board off. I wonder if I can work on the board. I can probably work on the board with just a battery removed. Yeah, that's what we'll do, rather than having to unsolder everything. There you go, you can see now it just lifts the solder straight off and then it puts it on the into here. Right, let's do this top one. Just going to push that to the middle of the hole if possible. There we go. And same with the bottom, I'm just going to push that to the middle of the hole. Right, I think that's broken, but if not, I can just I could just put the soldering iron on it again. So now I'm thinking this should just come out. Yeah, it's definitely loose there at the top. Here we go. There we go, excellent. Right, and you can see all the water damage on the battery there. Look at that. Wow. It's absolutely saturated, isn't it? Okay, let's give that a clean. This battery may be beyond repair now. I'm not actually sure how many uses you get in between charges, so I don't know when this was charged up last. I don't normally deal with it. Right, so it's a 680 milliamp hours and it says YE158. I'm sure you would be able to get these on eBay. Now I'm wondering, I didn't actually need to... Oh, there we go, that's the contact there. So you only have to actually undo the bottom contact because there's only one solder joint on this, which is quite interesting to know. So the top one I didn't actually need to unsolder. Now I'm just going to have a little look on the other side of the board, see if I can see any components. Now I'm thinking, just to make life a lot easier for myself, if you didn't like soldering, then you could probably just get away with just putting a bit of flux on here and putting the soldering iron up and down here to clean up that. But for me, I want to take the board off completely just so I've sort of got the freedom to work on it. So I am going to actually unsolder the other points as well and this coil at the bottom. And then when I lift it up, hopefully it will show if there is any more water damage. Right, interestingly, there's two little pads down here, and there was a big blob of solder on, but I can't actually see what they're going to. I wonder whether it's if it's done for some sort of safety or something. So basically there's two pads here, and there was just solder going straight across them. Right, I'm struggling with these two coil ones at the bottom. Just going to add a little bit of leaded solder to these two. No, I definitely can't get them down. I'm only getting the top out. The solder's gone into it. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to start to lever the board up and then use the soldering iron while the board's being levered, and hopefully it will leave it behind. So there's a couple little catches up the top here. And where else are we now? Let's remove these wires here and here. Okay, that's out there. So it is just the bottom now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lever up gently from in here while heating up with the soldering iron, and that should start to remove it. Like that, you see. Wow. Okay, that certainly wasn't easy. I'm just going to clean out the holes here now. Good, they're nice and clear now for when I put it back on. Right, so this is the thing down the bottom, the charging thing. So obviously it travels up through the board and then allows the safe charge off the battery. So I'm going to have to give this a real good clean to try to get rid of all that rust in there. But to begin with, let's worry about the circuit board. This is also the little charging tab that goes on the battery. So I need to make sure that I put that back in. That goes up the top here. Right, so this is the board here, and you can see that there is corrosion there, and also a little bit back down the bottom, but not too bad. It's this chip here which looks the main part of the damage. Now maybe the chip might have blown, or it might just need a clean. I'm hoping it will just need a clean. So to begin with, I'm just going to get IPA and I'm just going to clean the whole board thoroughly. This stuff here is 99.9% alcohol. Now, I don't think it's a problem with the actual button, because the thing is it turns on perfectly. If it didn't turn on or turn off, then you would suggest it's the button. But I think it's more the chip here, because when you press this button, it's just one of these switches that just click on for a second. So it needs to be able to latch on and latch off. And I don't think it's latching on because of the corrosion on this chip. Now, this button down here, I presume that works by a latch as well, but that does appear to be, well actually that's not doing anything either, is it? Because I couldn't get it onto the powerful mode. Right, while I've got the IPA out, I'm just going to clean up the rest of the board and the contacts and stuff and the battery. Looking at this, that should be spot welded onto here. So what's happened is that's actually come off, maybe through to, because of corrosion, or maybe just because it's kind of got a few knocks around the place and come off. But that definitely should be like that. So if you were to buy a battery, that's what it would come like. So you do need to unsolder both points on the board to remove the battery, not just one point. Or it could have been me prying it that broke it off. cleaned up okay. It's still, when that dries, it will still have like a brown residue on it, but you can see I've got quite a bit of the rust away from it. And the battery, I'm pretty sure the battery is going to be okay. I know it looks a bit rusty, but that is only on the outside. When that goes back on here, I'm hoping when it's forced up against here that will make a good contact again, because originally that would have been spot welded on. Thinking it should make a good enough contact. If not, I can always put a little kink in this to make it you know, to sort of like fill up the gap a little bit, so to force it against it. So now what we need to concentrate on is this main chip here. Now it's come up a lot better, but you can still see that there's corrosion on this part here. So I'm going to get some flux and I'm just going to put it on, might as well put it on both sides, and then we'll just tap it with the soldering iron. Right, so this is the flux that I'm using. Now I'm hoping by doing this that it will reflow and get rid of that corrosion. So let's zoom right in for this bit. Okay, here goes. So I've got my iron set to, I'm going to set it to 400 degrees Celsius. Now remember, this is just a cheap iron, so that might not necessarily be 400 at the tip, it might be a lot less. But this is only a very thin board, so it's not going to need a huge amount of heat. I'm just going to do the other side. Right, I can't seem to get rid of the bridges from this side, so you can see that pins are joined together. So I'm just going to keep on trying, if not I'll just have to get a bit of solder braid to wipe it off with. Clean again with IPA, and then I'll have a very close look to see what it looks like. Right, we've still got a bridge on that one there. Just going to use a tiny bit more flux. There we go. Right, now the reason I didn't really want to use braid on there was because then I think I would have had to start to reapply solder, because remember there was the right amount of solder on it to begin with. So then if I was to use braid, I would have then had to use more solder, and then I might have ended up kind of putting too much on there, which would then cause more bridges. I'm just going to have a very quick look through my eye loop just to see if these pins are all attached to the solder pads. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So if you look real closely, you can see that this was the side with the corrosion around the middle there, and they all look nice and shiny again now. and this was the other side. Probably didn't need to do this side because it didn't look like there was any corrosion on it. It's just that because I had the soldering iron out, I thought I would do it, but this was the side that caused me all the hassle. Right, so I think now we should pop it back together and see if we have anything out of it. Actually, before I do that, let me just quickly clean up the inside of this. In fact, while I'm cleaning it, I might as well do the whole thing. I'll just fast forward it through it all so you won't get bored. Okay, so that's the main cleaning done. So now let's start to put this back together. I think I am going to put a tiny little kink on this just to make sure it is making a good contact. Okay, just a tiny little bend like that. Now let's pop the board back on. Let me solder it in place. What I might have to do is I might have to pack that a little bit with some piece of metal or foil or something like that. So now I just have to basically solder up all those bits that I unsoldered before. So that is it back together. Let's see if it's going to work or not. I'm very unsure about this battery. No, I think that battery is going to cause me problems. No, there's nothing there at all. Let's see if it's going to charge. No, nothing. Okay, well, I suppose we better suspect the battery. What I'll do is I'm going to get my multimeter out and just to see if we've got voltage on these pins up the top. We have. It's only 3.2. Okay, so it must be making a contact. I'm just going to give it a wiggle in the wrong way. Okay, so it's definitely making a contact. Maybe it just needs to be left plugged in for a while. Where I wiggle the battery, it is actually making a contact, but 3.2 is very low. I think it should be 3.7, but when it's fully charged, it'll probably be more. Right, what am I going to do? Let's put this back together here. So that's going to be there. Now I don't actually need to put anything else back together, do I? So let's leave it plugged in for a while and let's see if it's going to come to life. I've just remembered. Do you remember what I forgot to do? Remember the blob of solder down the very bottom connecting those two pads? Well, I didn't put that back on, did I? That one there. So it must be there for a reason. So let's put a blob of solder back on there and then see if it comes to life after that. Right, okay, you can see I've soldered that up now. Let's see if we've got any power. No, still nothing. Yes, it's flashing green. Look at that. Fantastic. What a result. Oh, I'm so happy. Yes, and it gave a look. It's just doing it for a split second. Do you know what? I'm confident that that's going to work. I'm so confident that I am going to put it back together properly. If I do have to take it apart again, it's not the end of the world because you've seen how easy it came apart to begin with. That's that in there. That's in there nice again. Do you know what I'm thinking might have happened here? I wonder if this got dropped in the bath or something like that, because nothing actually seems to be broken. I mean, there's horrible mould in there on the rubber. I can't actually get that off with IPA or a wet wipe, so I don't know whether you need some chemicals for that or not. But there's no holes there. It seems to be sealed, and the bottom seal seems to be okay. So I'm reckoning whether the whole thing got submerged in water, because if that was just sort of sat up or a little bit of water rinsed over it, I don't think that water would get into it. Let's see if this is sticky enough to stick back on. Yes, I think it is. Right, let's plug it in now. Right, so I'm going to leave that. Let's leave that for a little while and see what happens. Okay, it's only been charging up for about an hour now, but it appears to be working nice and strong. So if you watch this now, you can see I can select between low and high. Let's leave it on low. Turn it on. Listen to that. Okay. Turn it off. Works fine. Let's put it up high and turn it on and turn it off. So you can see that that's working every time. So what are results? It just shows you a little bit of water damage. So now I think what I'm going to advise my son to do is when he's cleaning it, to clean it that way, you know, so the water's running down, hitting this and then going straight into the sink. Because I think when water's constantly going in here, I suppose there's more chance of water getting into it. But I'm happy to mess around with this again in the future. So let's say now in a year's time, if the battery goes, I know it's actually quite an easy job to get into that, a lot easier than I thought it would be to change out the battery. And those batteries are going to be very cheap online. And if it does get water damaged again, as long as I know about it quite early on, then I've got a feeling most things on that board there will be repairable. So yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I really enjoyed doing it, and quite an easy fault to fix. And hopefully now that will keep working for a while. So if you got any enjoyment from it at all, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care, bye now.